My name is Spencer Higa, and you're listening to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast.
Boom!
Well, I used to worm dunk, but I graduated from that.
I'm Lance Egan, and I forgot what I was supposed to say.
That guy's got everything on his face that you want to shave off. Just stick him solid.
Welcome to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast, your source for fly fishing talk, tips, and stories. In this episode, Jason and I are in historic Dan Bailey's Fly Shop in Livingston, Montana. We sit down for a visit with John Bailey, son of and current owner of Dan Bailey's. John is an icon in the fly fishing world, and he provides unique background perspective to fly fishing the Yellowstone, the Gallatin, and other surrounding rivers to Livingston, Montana. John also shares his experience of working as a fly fishing advisor to Robert Redford in filming the classic fly fishing movie, A River Runs Through It. We hope you enjoy our podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and our YouTube channel. I am Chad Nelson, along with my co-host, Jason RV. Here is today's podcast.
From a business point of view, worst mistake was not, going offshore. But I wasn't about to get rid of our fly tires.
Oh, yeah.
And we lost a lot of market share, but I don't care.
Yeah.
So did your dad get into guiding right away on the Yellowstone here?
Well, people just went fishing.
Yeah.
They didn't use, guides are recent.
Yeah.
We're talking 38 to
Right.
16. That's the 70s, probably they were guiding some. Joe Brooks was always out here. There were a few people who needed a guide, but it's big now. But the baby boomers have gotten older.
Yes.
The baby boomers and the millennials are not fishing.
Yeah.
We have this big bulge getting old in this industry, and it's going to be that's going to be the interesting. I may not see it all, but
Yeah. Well, we noticed it. We're in town here for the FFF, and Jason and I went over there yesterday, and we're the only ones without gray hair.
I know.
No exaggeration.
No, and they do. They have kids programs and stuff, but we were brought up outdoors.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
And that world has changed.
Although you do have a bit of gray hair.
Yeah.
No, but
Proud.
it's just. But the times always change. You try to beat that. It's kind of hard. And we always went fishing. And I think a lot of people did that. But now most water in the east you can't get on, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Montana, our streams are open public, and we have the public access to the high water mark. That's a huge thing. So there's plenty of places to fish. Around here you see a lot of young, because Bozeman's growing really fast. But we're in the heart of some of the best fishing in the world. So.
Boy,
True.
it's crazy good.
How many blue ribbon fisheries around the area here?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Just tons.
Then there's some that, some smaller streams that are really, but we have, what's so interesting here is the variety of streams, from a big Yellowstone River to the small spring creeks to the Boulder, a mountain stream, the Gallatin, goes out in the valley and it's a mountain stream. The variety of things we have is just staggering.
The park is close by. That opens up a whole new world.
Yeah.
And then one of the things, in the 70s, the park, that was in the days where they were having hundreds of people would catch all these cutthroat, and then they didn't know what to do with them, and they put them in garbage cans. It was a huge problem. So in the 70s, the park went to catch and release.
Okay.
And then people were up in arms elsewhere about it. And basically, we are catch and release now. You hardly ever see someone keep without regulation. It was one of the most interesting things I've seen.
Yeah.
That this, by generation, people, when I was growing up, people would catch 100 whitefish in the winter and smoke them. I mean, I don't know, you could smell smokers all over. You never see, that's gone too.
Yeah.
It's just but you had, anyone that went through the Depression, a whole different person than
You bet.
those of us who never
You
did.
bet.
Yeah.
We had a much better world to go through, so, but it's just all those changes you just watch here in a small town.
You mentioned, John, bringing in the millennial crowd, those younger kids. What do they need to know about fly fishing to get them interested or excited?
One of the fascinating things about it is you end up in these beautiful places. You start learning something about stream. You have to learn. One of the things about fly fishing, you have to read water. And that's, I mean, I don't think, some people don't know what you mean by that, but you know, where are you going to put the fly? Well, you start, if you know where the fish will be holding or in different times, I mean, you have to learn about the fish, what they do, the insects. You know, that's what's so interesting. It's not like just going out and throwing a spinner and, you know, you have to, if you're going to be successful, you have to start to understand that stream.
Yes.
So if you just go here or there once, I mean, you can't build that knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's difficult for a lot because they don't live somewhere where they can do it a lot. I mean, that part I understand.
I think they're not as patient as our generation as well, because they have this instant gratification thing that they live by.
I don't remember the baby boomers being patient.
Patient either?
No, I don't think my generation was patient at all.
Well, I think
I mean, we went through the Vietnam War era, you know.
Yeah.
That about tore the country apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's just, but you go fly fishing, that stuff goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It's you, the stream, the surroundings.
Yeah.
You know, you can be in New York City, but sometimes you need a little peace.
So true.
And
Well, I agree.
You
I
get
mean,
that on a stream.
So true.
just a day on the river is fun in and of itself. And if you catch a fish, that's just the icing on the cake for me.
You know, well, you can get frustrated fishing too, but
Yeah.
we get frustrated every day in life, don't we? So,
Yeah.
but you can, you know, if you work at it. But it is, yeah, it's an interesting, you know, millenniums, it'll be interesting to see what they do. A lot will get into it, I think, as they get older. But the real problem is they don't have, or most of them are living, they don't have much access to do it.
Yeah. Well, and maybe if we put plug-ins for video game consoles out on the river, they might come.
Well, I forget there's one thing there's a video they were trying to get streams and you could cast on them, but I don't know if that ever really took off.
Yeah, I don't think they did.
No, I mean, I know some people were involved in it, but it never seemed to really.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure they aren't growing up with families that fished either.
Well, you know, I've found even
So
with my
true.
own children, and I've got 2 teenagers and 2 younger ones, but I'm an avid outdoorsman, and it's hard for me to even get my kids outdoors sometimes.
Well, teenagers
because-
are always hard to do anything, right? I mean,
John, have you seen the cost of fly fishing go up incrementally, or is it? I mean, rods today are a good rod, $800-900.
yeah, but you can get them for $50 too. They're pretty. The difference now, you have graphite.
Yes.
I grew up in cane.
Yeah.
That much harder to learn to cast. I mean, graphite is so much because it loads. You get higher line speed, which makes it easier to cast with graphite.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if I'd learn it now, it's much easier.
Yeah.
And then we had glass, and then graphite came along, and the generations of graphite, it's amazing. But it's so much easier to. I mean, a cane rod, you had to really wait. When you're young, you're not that patient. And I remember, but you know, being around people, watching them cast helps, but the new rods make it much easier.
Much easier. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was those early days fishing with your dad out here in Yellowstone? I mean, or not in Yellowstone, but on the Yellowstone River.
Well, you got on the stream and you saw him again that night.
He was a mover.
You got to cover water. I mean, and here you can do that. I mean, most people go somewhere where they have a small stretch you can fish.
Yeah.
We're spoiled.
Yeah.
Very spoiled. And we have so many rivers. The question is, where are you going to go fishing today? You're going to go to Boulder, you go to the Stillwater, the Yellowstone, Easter, you know. Well, we got some Gardner down to, there's 200 miles or something to fish, you know. There's a lot of water.
Did you have a fly rod in your hand from the time you could walk? Was your dad teaching you then?
Not teaching, but
Here you go.
if we weren't doing anything, if we weren't at home, we were fishing.
Wow.
Yeah, and you had to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Norman McLean book, River Runs Through It. Our life centered around fly fishing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, that was nothing else.
Yeah. Good book, by the way.
Yeah, it was a good movie, too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you had a guy in your shop here yesterday that was in that movie.
Well, I was a fly fishing advisor to that movie.
Oh, you
neat.
were?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then I got to edit the fly fishing segments.
That's so neat.
Because Redford was scared to death that the fly fishing public wouldn't buy into it. But and I've seen 3 versions of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they had done it. They had, so I taught the actors, and then my wife and I went in May, and then we went to far eastern Russia on a exploratory fishing trip, and then they shot the fly fishing stuff in September. They could send a whole bunch of people home. They didn't need, you know. And then I was with them every day then. And we saw the dailies. On the second day, we saw the dailies of the first day. And Jerry Seam, who's a rod designer for Sage, he and I were there. We watched these fly lines go in waves like this across the screen, and we looked at each other and said, we need to get out of this thing. We don't want our names associated with it. We were really worried. And Redford doesn't say anything on set. No, he's weird. And I'd been dealing with the producer, mostly Patrick Markey, and then Redford, he got up and walked to me and said, that was awful, wasn't it? Yeah. And so then after that, they had me camera side, and so what I'd do is, everyone always wants to cast more line than they can.
Yeah.
So I went up just before they set, and I'd reel in, and a 20-foot cast on a screen looks like 100. You know, you get that angle, and then they could cast. But if your casting is bad, reel in some line till it improves. And that's the best advice I give anyone. Is if you got too much, and then you start fighting it.
Yeah.
Just reel in the line to when you can cast.
Well, I noticed the same with me. I get into trouble when I let too much line in.
Yeah, and so then they could cast, and that was in September, and then in March or something, I forget when it was. They flew me to L.A. to see the movie. They had an editor that said, if you don't like something, tell him. And so there's a scene where the old man and the 2 boys fish together. I said, there's something wrong. I didn't know what, you know, the movie's going on. I said, there's something wrong. So the editing room the next day, what was wrong was Tom Skerritt. His first cast was like a half moon. So what you see in the movie is the second false cast and third. It was the half moon that I knew something was bad. So it's gone.
He was the teacher of the fly casting, and we can't have him.
Well, yeah, well, yeah. So, but then we just, you know, there were 3 like 2.5-minute segments, and each one took about 11 hours to go through again.
Wow.
And Redford was acting in Sneakers, so it was on Paramount lot, and he'd come in, but we're wheeling through all this. I mean, it was film then, not digital now, whole different. And I said, "Oh, there's the best cast Brad Pitt makes," and 4 hours later, it was in the movie. But you got to piece all that stuff that goes with the footage.
Was that movie filmed here?
Yeah, they were headquartered in Livingston.
Oh.
The fly fishing footage was all fished on the Gallatin.
On the Gallatin?
Yeah, down in the canyon. Yeah.
That's so neat. Well,
Yeah.
John, so Dan Bailey's this huge, long story of history. The luminaries of the sport have been here, fished with your dad, with you. What is the future for Dan Bailey's going forward? What do you think? I know that's a long, long question.
Somebody else will have it.
Yeah.
It isn't going to go away.
Is there another Bailey?
No, no more Baileys.
No more Baileys.
No more. Okay. Well, it's a beautiful fly shop. I wanted to ask you about all these plaques you've got hanging around the store. Big fish, somebody's name on it.
There's one over here. It started in the Catskills. Because my parents and McDonald's had this cabin in the Catskills that they went up fishing. And if you go up there and look at this, the first one is, I think, 35. My father caught, he just traced this fish on the wall. And then they decided to, if you caught a bigger one, you'd trace it. Well, then he left, and then John McDonald, the last one up there he caught, and then he cut it out of the wall, because it was just before World War II, and he knew he'd never be back there. And he had it in New York for a long, long time, and then he gave it to me 15 years ago or something. But so when my father came to Montana, and there's another one where they're lined up, he's on the far end, they painted them on the wall.
Okay.
Well, then that was down the street. Well, then in '56 we bought this building that we're in right here. Well, that's when we went to plaques, because they couldn't transfer the wall.
Oh. So is there a minimum size criteria to get a plaque in here?
4 pounds
4 pounds?
from a river.
From rivers.
Yeah, and we haven't had one since in the '70s. And we didn't stop it. It's a change. People aren't keeping fish. Which is,
Yeah.
It's just fine, yeah.
Yeah, I have no, and that change, and, we don't promote it. But, people used to come here, fish all for years just to get on the wall. I mean, it was one of those.
Yeah.
But, in a lot of things, lots of things are done to promote something.
Yeah.
And then at some point, those become irrelevant, and that's sort of what that is. It's a history, and
So what's the biggest fish taken out of the Yellowstone?
so it's over on the wall. It's an old man from Minnesota. I forget. It's a big fish.
You brought it in here, though.
Oh yeah. It's just
How neat.
17. I forget what that is. I can show it to you over there.
Yeah.
But
But
60 years in this building.
no, I'm 38. Yeah, I guess. And then this was in 56, and that's 65, and then 68, and then I own another building down the street. That's our warehouse.
Oh.
I mean, our biggest business is selling to other dealers.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We have our own line of waders, we have flies, we have Dairiki is my trademark. When we brought in mono from, everyone knew Japanese, so we put a Japanese name on it so they wouldn't have to explain to them what it was.
Gotcha.
And Dairiki hooks are ours, and so we're a distributor for fly lines and all kinds of other stuff too. So
Yeah. So in addition to selling to other dealers, then you have your mail order business to
and
the
the
end
storefront.
consumer. Yeah.
Yeah.
The storefront.
we did all those because that was survival.
Yeah. For
You
sure.
you couldn't put it together now.
Yeah. And so if guys want to find you, that you have a website, and
Yep.
that's where they can place
Yep.
orders.
I have the Dan Bailey's waders. That's what I use. The first year you came out with the zippered ones. They had the felt-lined pockets
Yeah.
and the tons of pockets and the built-in gravel guards. I was just on.
But everybody complained that the felt got wet, so we don't put the felt in anymore.
I didn't stick my hands in there wet, so.
Well, no, but I
it
mean,
worked great.
it was just one of those,
Yeah.
you know, you get feedback,
Yeah.
but if you wade deep, then they get wet.
Well, all the pockets you put in are awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why other guys don't do that, because
They're so handy.
you can never have enough pockets.
Well, I mean, we do a lot of float fishing here, and I mean, if I have 2 boxes, I can jump out of the boat and I have what I want. If I need to change, I can change the boxes. Yeah, no, it's so much nicer than wearing a vest all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still wear a vest sometimes. So, I mean, that's vest sales are really tanked. You want to see something that tanked. People are not using vests.
It's this younger generation. And
Well, you don't need that much stuff. I mean, and most people fish one stream, you know, a couple boxes. But if you have waders with pockets,
you don't need the vest.
you don't need
Yeah.
a vest as much.
Yeah.
I think they have done years
Yeah.
of research. And
Well, awesome, John. Beautiful fly shop. We love what you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys
Glad
being
you're here.
great
And we're happy to have the
ambassadors.
Federation back.
Yeah.
They came, well, the first time they came here, they were supposed to, I think it was Big Sky, they were supposed, and it fell through. They said, we got it, so I got them here, and I got this, well, it was, they rebuilt the high school, so, and I got, and Livingston loves them. They came here and they couldn't believe how friendly everybody was. But this has been a fishing town forever.
Yeah.
And they've gone to West. West does not have facilities. I mean, I'm not, you know, it's a tourist place, but they're there in the summer. The hotels are already full, you know, but they don't have, the school being available
Right.
really makes a big, big difference. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the facilities either. But school systems always, the community's always been very, very good about it. Now they do it themselves, they don't need me, so, which is fine.
Well, beautiful town, beautiful country.
Yeah.
So
Big-
we will be back.
Definitely.
Good.
A big thanks to your dad for all his efforts, and to you for all your efforts of protecting the river, growing the
Yeah,
sport.
I'll go show you that map of the lake, you'll be shocked how big it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
But really appreciate you. It's been our pleasure to
Yeah,
to
good.
meet with you, and
Good to meet
thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Appreciate it very much.
Yes, likewise.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you. Yep.
All right, friends, thanks for listening to the Drop Jaw Flies podcast. Please send us your feedback. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and on our website, www.dropjawflies.com. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or on our YouTube channel. Now get out there and hook a big one and stick 'em solid.